Hello, JPU family. Welcome to another episode. This is day 13 days since Jamaica was hit by the worst disaster in its history. Every country, in every region, on every continent, and every organization is lending a helping hand. Here, you're looking at the former president of Ghana. Ghana is also one of the countries helping Jamaica with disaster relief. This is the question a lot of people are asking now. What should Jamaica do now after Hurricane Melissa to prevent economic collapse? We need to have this conversation because we have been hit pretty hard, and it is possible to collapse if we don't do the right things. The cost of Melissa so far is estimated about $8 billion US. That's a lot of money. 2 days ago, Reuters reported that Jamaica saw 30% GDP hit from Hurricane Melissa. There's a lot going on here, guys. Between the estimated $8 billion US in damages and the GDP, and we have the businesses that are affected, we have people's livelihoods, people lost their homes, we've lost some infrastructure. We have a lot going on. Like I said a few days ago, I empathize with the Prime Minister of Jamaica, but I would not want his job. This is rough, but let's talk about it. So, to put it in light terms, Hurricane Melissa has shocked our economy. Yes, it has. So now the big question is this: what must Jamaica do right now to prevent economic collapse? Well, urgently, strategically, and realistically, Jamaica must come up with a plan to stabilize the country and protect its future. The first priority is to keep the country functioning. You heard the Prime Minister said that a few days ago. All of what about it too soon for walk back school and rare. No, we need to keep the country up and running. So whenever a hurricane of this scale hits a small island country like Jamaica's economy, the first danger is not long-term recession. It's immediate system failure. The system is overload. If electricity, water, fuel, and transportation collapse for too long, the economy can enter a downward spiral that's hard to reverse. So step one is simple: restore critical infrastructure quickly and strategically. Not everywhere at once. Jamaica doesn't have that capacity. But in order of national importance: 1. Hospitals and emergency centers. 2. Main highways and arterial roads. 3. Electricity corridors and power stations. 4. Water pumping stations. 5. Major commercial zones. And 6. Essential government services. This isn't just disaster response. This is economic stability. Because businesses can't reopen without power, farmers can't salvage crops without roads, tourism can't restart without water and transportation, and people can't work if their communities are cut off. Jamaica must prioritize the backbone of the economy to prevent the storm from turning into a national financial crisis. Next thing we need to do: use financing to avoid a debt explosion. So after Melissa, the bill for reconstruction could reach tens of billions of Jamaican dollars. If Jamaica borrows all of it and quickly, recklessly, the country risks reversing decades of fiscal discipline. This is where policy discipline matters. Jamaica needs to use a mixed financial model. 1. Immediate liquidity. 2. Grants and concessional loans. 3. Private sector partnerships. 4. Diaspora mobilization. 5. Insurance payouts. We've already heard Favour Williams, the finance minister, talk about the layers that we have available to us, right?
The thing this government can be credited with is putting together a robust national natural disaster risk financing policy and taking the steps to ensure that we put the financing in place, the financing framework, and maintain it over the years. and made it more robust, so that this morning we can stand here to remind you that that framework consists of several layers. The first layer that we can immediately call on is the contingencies fund with $5.3 billion. Then we have the National Natural Disaster Reserve Fund with $1 billion. There are some conditions that apply, and we'll work through those. Layered on top of that are our different insurance policies, and we do have two insurance policies with the Caribbean Catastrophe Insurance Facility, otherwise called CRIF, CCRIF, and the coverage there for tropical cyclone is US $91.6 million, and for excess rainfall, the coverage is US $37.3 million, of course. Those are also parametric insurance, meaning preset conditions, and those will be calibrated, and we will get information as to whether or not there would be a payout from that insurance. On top of that, we do have the catastrophe bond, otherwise called CAT bond, for a potential payout of $150 million US dollars if that bond is triggered. Additionally, we do have loans, contingent loans from our international partners. And so from the IDB, we also have a contingent credit facility of US $285 million. So you can see if the layers are exhausted, you can see how we can continue to the next layer.
So using these in the right order prevents the debt to GDP ratio from exploding. Jamaica's economy doesn't collapse after a storm because of the storm itself. It collapses because of mismanaged borrowing after the storm. This is the moment where discipline matters more than ever. Now let's talk about protecting the livelihoods of people whose households were not affected to any great degree from the hurricane. We're talking about to stop household recession. So clearly, half the country was severely hit. Many people lost their homes, vehicles, tools, crops, livestock, or simply the ability to work. If households collapse financially, the entire country and economy collapses with them. Therefore, Jamaica must adopt targeted support, including 1. Temporary unemployment assistance for people unable to work because their workplace or community was destroyed. 2. Small business recovery grants. We heard that the government will be assisting people with small businesses. So, yeah, the government, me nah say all of this to say that the government incompetent, because I've heard them speaking about some of these things. I'm telling you, I'm just putting this out there so that people and a wide range of people will hear, because there's a lot of disinformation and stuff out there. So, aside from the small businesses getting recovery grants, we're talking about barbers, hairdresser, cook shop, taxi operator, tradesmen. These are the backbones of the informal economy. Then thirdly, we must prioritize support for the farmers. This is big because as we sit right now, we must anticipate some food insecurity because of what happened in, St. Elizabeth and other rural areas that produce food. So because agriculture is always the first sector wiped out under the circumstance and the last to recover, we've got to pay special attention here. Fourth, temporary moratoriums. So on mortgages, business loans, and utility penalties, we have to look at those as well. And fifth, rapid housing repair programs. Now, 10 years later, we're talking within months. Guys, this is not charity. This is economic survival. So when people can function, the economy can function also. Now, let's talk about food security and import shocks, because that is a real thing. After a Category 5 event, Jamaica faces two major risks: food shortages and import inflation. So agriculture took a direct hit, we know that. Banana, citrus, vegetables, livestock, irrigation systems damaged nationwide. If Jamaica doesn't act fast where agriculture is concerned, food prices may spike, supermarket shelves may thin out, and inflation may climb. So, what should the government do? Trigger emergency import protocols to stabilize prices in the short term. Launch a 12-month agriculture recovery program with seedling, fertilization, irrigation, repairs, and grants. Thirdly, fast-track greenhouse and protected farming investments to reduce vulnerability to future storms. That's important. And fourth, expand agroparks and climate-smart farming. This is how Jamaica avoids going into recession from food price shocks. So you see how many moving parts there are? So because food insecurity leads to inflation, and inflation kills spending power, and that slows the entire economy. Now let's talk about the tourism question, because some of the hotels demanding close down temporarily. Our airports are open, but tourism is, a cause for concern. So tourism brings in over $3 billion annually. We're talking US dollars. It employs over 100,000 Jamaicans and people from elsewhere for that matter. We're talking about also people indirectly employed in the tourist industry in Jamaica. So if hotels and airports remain offline for too long, the foreign exchange flow slows dramatically. Jamaica must, one, restore tourism corridors rapidly, offer short-term tax relief for affected operators, rebuild beaches and public parks that, support the sector, and also protect jobs with temporary wage subsidies if necessary. Tourism recovery is not vanity. It's a foreign exchange stability. So the lifeblood of the Jamaican dollar is very important. Now let's talk about rebuilding for the next storm, because that's also very important to the future of Jamaica. Remember, we have hurricane season every year, right? So we have to look forward to that. What we all need to recognize at this point in time, guys, is that Melissa wasn't just a once-in-a-lifetime storm, and we need to come to grips with that. This is a preview, because climate models are showing stronger, wetter, more destructive hurricanes heading for the Caribbean. So rebuilding the same way is not just unwise, it's economically dangerous. I think PJ Patterson alluded to this in his video about the way forward after the storm. So Jamaica must adopt stronger building codes, mandatory elevation in flood zones, underground power lines in key corridors, climate resilient schools and hospitals, modern drainage system, coastal defense structures. Every dollar invested in resilience now saves us money and a whole lot of headache later on. This is how small economies survive in a climate-changed world. So guys, in closing, Hurricane Melissa was a national tragedy, but also a national warning, and we must heed this warning. We now have a choice. We can patch the damage, hope for the best, and wait for the next storm, or use this moment to transform Jamaica's economy into one that is stronger, more resilient, and better prepared for the future. Preventing economic collapse isn't about fear, it's about strategy. Rebuild smart, borrow wisely, protect households, invest in resilience, and prepare for a world where Category 5 hurricanes are no longer rare but routine. I know that nobody's really talking about this right now, but let me just say this. All the countries that are coming in to help us, the big countries, them. I'm talking about the US, Canada, England. Listen, everybody, as we can see, loves Jamaica. We see the genuine outpouring of love and support. However, you see these big countries that I mentioned, guys, them don't have no choice but for help, because we are living in a time right now where those big countries that are overwhelmed by immigrants. And them don't really want a whole heap of people to flood them border when judgment take them in their own country, whether it be political instability, economic instability, or disaster. Okay? We've been there. We've done it. We've seen the migration of Jamaicans all over the world because of things like disasters, financial meltdowns and all these things. So, especially in America now with the, you know, anti-immigration sentiments, they want to make sure that they're protecting their borders, and that's fine. You know what I mean? And also something else that certain countries, I'm not going to call no name, but certain countries need to be looking at right now, since they have become so anti-immigration and anti-immigrant. Some of these countries, they have a history of going into small countries, destabilize them, and them something there. And then you have the whole of the people from that country flooding into their countries. So now them we know. Now go in a people country, go destabilize them, trouble them, and make them immigrant flood out and flood uno. You understand? Anyway, guys, this is Jamaica Politics Uncovered. Keep it locked here. Please give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed. Let me know what you think in the chat. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.